The San Jose earthquake sale is not drama unless you understand how stadium money actually works. Let's get into it today on Locked On A's.
You are Locked On A's, your daily podcast on the Athletics, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. My name is Boney, one name, all passion, no sugarcoating. I'm a lifelong A's fan who has spent the past season covering this team every single day with post-game breakdowns, prospect deep dives, roster decisions, and all the chaos in between. And in the off-season, yes, we are still covering the A's every single day. And I don't show up with corporate talking points or highlight real cliches. I show up with honesty, edge, and the perspective of someone who refuses to let this team be treated like an afterthought. If you want blind optimism, look elsewhere. If you want truth, fire, and a voice that actually cares, welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team, your A's, every single day. And we are free and available on all podcast networks, including YouTube. So do me a favor and hit that subscribe button whenever you get the opportunity. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. Today on Locked On A's, we are diving head first into your reactions, stadium theories, ownership, skepticism, baseball takes, wild predictions, and everything in between. The chat drives the segment. We answer, we debate, we push back, and expand the best comments of the week, making this a full throttle, fan-powered finish. That's later. The Braves have signed Osvaldo Bido, quietly ending his run with the A's. We unpack what this move tells us about the depth, roster churn, pitching plans, and how the A's continue navigating their never-ending carousel of arms. What did they lose? What did they not lose? And what this move says more about the organization than most fans realize. We start with the question that keeps whispering through every corner of A's fandom. What's really going on with the Vegas stadium financing? We break down the public money, the private money. Why is John Fisher selling the earthquakes? Are those warning signs? This is the deep dive into liquidity, leverage, optics, and whether the timeline still holds up, or if we are watching a house of cards shimmy in the Braves. Let's get into it. What motivated this episode today was recent comments, a recent article by our old friend, Jason Burke, who literally does not want to see the A's do well, nor wants to see this stadium get built. All right, quote unquote, Jason Burke, a little over a year later, Fisher decided to sell the San Jose Earthquakes, who have been valued at around $600 million by Sportico. Sandy Dean, who's an A's executive, has said that none of the money from that potential sale will go towards the funding of the ballpark project in Las Vegas. But that would appear to be tough to believe given how the two values line up so neatly. Thus far, there has been no announcement of a buyer for the earthquakes, meaning that potential piece of the funding hasn't come yet either. For those heavily invested in the Las Vegas park success, Dean also dropped this quote from the Associated Press. All right, let me tell you what's going on with the stadium, how the stadium financing works. For those who need to understand it, and for those who don't understand it, doesn't really matter. Okay, I've answered this question in the past, And I haven't answered it well. And because it's more complicated than a yes or no answer. And the question is the sale of the earthquakes a coincidence with the Vegas stadium being built? It's not a simple yes or no. And I have answered it a direct no, which is, it's a shade of gray answer. And let me explain. I have explained on many of occasions how John Fisher is funding the stadium. And I'm shocked I'm the only one that has really talked about how Fisher is funding the stadium through a S-block, a securities backed line of credit, or maybe not necessarily an S-block, but a similar type of tool. And this isn't anything earth-shattering or newsworthy or something brand new. I mean, affluent individuals who have made purchases of this type, Elon Musk with Twitter, Steve Ballmer of the Clippers, used similar type of tools in order to purchase that particular asset. They're not literally just writing a check. Here's the issue with an S block. Now, if you're going to borrow 1.5, 1.6, $2 billion on that particular securities back of line of credit or whatever it may be, you are paying a particular interest rate on that. You can no longer access that money. That money right now, by chance, or a better way to put it, most likely is already being secured by U.S. Bank or Goldman Sachs. Everyone thinks the bank loan is just $300 million. It is. But they're looking for a lot more as far as security in order to get paid back. In other words, whatever stock, assets, portfolios John Fisher has, if it's Gap or something else he is leveraging, he can no longer access that money in order to do anything else with it. That money is tied up until it is paid back. That is tied up, and he is paying interest on it. He can no longer use that money. That money right now is a liability. So the reason why does he need the sale of the earthquakes in order to pay for the stadium? No. Does he need potential investors in order to pay for the stadium? No. But does it make business sense? Is it better for his pocket? Forget about Fisher. Is it better for anybody's pocket to be able to use money and make money off money, which is what people should be doing, instead of paying interest on that money? There's a reason why people will go out and pay cash for a house or for a car or for whatever it may be. It's because that money can be used to make money rather than paying on what's borrowed. In some other situations, sure, if you're getting just a killer deal as far as interest rate and you're paying a lot less than the money would cost you, it depends. Every situation is different. I want to continue a little bit more with the Fisher financing, what he is potentially looking at. And I want to dive also into Osvaldo Bido up next. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement of this sports season. Whether you are following the NFL, NBA, or both, there's no better time to jump in on the action. If you haven't tried it yet, Prize Picks is the simplest way to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, and if you get them right, you win. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup, and you can play anywhere Prize Picks operates, including California, Texas, and Georgia. I've been using Prize Picks during both football Sundays and NBA tip-offs. It keeps every game exciting. I like picking my favorite players like Mahomes and Draymond Green to see how my predictions play out. The new Stacks features is a game changer. You can now pick more on Draymond's points, assists, and rebounds in the same lineup. Plus, if your players leave early with an injury, the injury reboot saves my lineup from a loss. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Welcome back to Locked On A's, talking Fisher financing. Why is he selling the earthquakes? Is there something to be worried about? And the answer is no. When somebody buys a house, and let's say they buy a house for $100,000, but that's all they have. You don't put that whole money down into the house and buy it cash. You want to get it financed, because once you put that money into the house, it is very difficult to liquidate it. It's very tough to get that money out. In this situation with the stadium, yes, he has the assets and the ability to pay cash for the stadium tomorrow through financial tools that have been used in the past. In many of my shows, I've talked about the securities-backed line of credit. Similar type of tools, like I said earlier in the show, as Elon Musk bought with Twitter, Steve Ballmer bought with the Clippers. Now, when you are doing that, when you secure that money, there's two detriments to that. There's two negatives. You're paying interest on that money. Secondly, that money's dead. In other words, you can't touch it. So if you see another killer investment for whatever the cost is, you can't go pull that money. That money is tied up until it's paid for. So him selling the earthquakes in order to free up liquidity, or getting investors in order to free up liquidity, makes sense. And that's all he's doing. This isn't some panic thing where it's like, oh my God, he's selling the earthquakes. The whole project's in danger. No. Cash is king. You free up liquidity. Every person should be doing this. This isn't like, this isn't shocking news or something brand new. Individuals who are affluent, who have portfolios, do this exact same thing. When you buy a business, the key to buying business is spending somebody else's cash, whether it's a bank, whether it's an institution, whether it's investors. The golden rule to business and buying a business is you do not use your own cash. Why do you think LLCs and names are set up? So the individual is not liable. That's exactly what's happening. So is it a coincidence that he is selling the earthquakes and the stadium? Like I said at the start, it's an answer that has shades of gray in it. If he can free up money, if he can free up liquidity, and he could use that money in order to make money on money, it makes sense. Master Ball. I saw the report the stadium is set to open in 2028. Yeah, it looks like it is ahead of schedule. In the interview Fisher gave on, I think it was Wednesday, with the A's Fan Experience, he said it was ahead of schedule. You never know with those big projects. I think it is. I think it's going to get done. And what I am a firm believer in, guys, is history. And when you have a place like Vegas that's known for big buildings, for extravagant type of sites, when they have a history of getting it done, yeah, they're probably going to get it done. And I don't see any issue with the stadium opening in 2028. It looks like they're getting after it. And Vegas gets things done, man. There's one thing about Vegas, they get things done and they know how to do it and they know how to complete projects. And I'm sure there's been projects that hasn't been done, hasn't been completed. I can't tell you any, but I'm assuming there are. You trust history, you trust what's going on. That is their business. And I have no doubt that it's going to get done. There is absolutely zero issue with the financing. Zero issue with the financing. And for that to still be an issue, or people still not understanding it, I tell you, I don't get it. I tell you, one of the main influencers out there that constantly talks, which initially got me to start thinking the opposite way, was Vital Vegas. Because when I first took this position, all I did was work in my other profession and watch baseball. I didn't pay attention to everything that was going on. So guys like Vital Vegas and Jason Burke and Brody Brazil, they were like gospel to me. That's all I heard and listened to. And in the brief time I did keep up with the news. But once he started talking about capital gains, and Fisher had to sell stock in order to pay for the stadium and pay capital gains, I'm like, this guy's clueless. He's uneducated. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And people that listen to him, yeah, I mean, good for you. But and like I said at the open, how I'm the only one that has still talked about an S block, which is a common tool. Yeah, shows you how educated this industry is. Master, $2 billion looks like the development is being done by the same people that did Raider Stadium. That is correct. That is correct. Like I said, and they're Vegas people, right? One group they both did Raider Stadium. One group is from Minnesota. The other one is Vegas. And this ain't their first rodeo. This isn't like something brand new. History's there. So this thing is getting done. There's absolutely zero question about it. The news that comes out either is one of two things. It's irresponsible, or they're just uneducated people. But when I get back, let's talk a little baseball. I want to talk about Osvaldo Bido, him getting picked up by the Atlanta Braves. The A's waiving him and him getting picked up by the Braves. What does this mean? Is there anything to really look into with regard to it? See you in a minute. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Osvaldo Bido getting waived by the A's, frees up a spot on the 40-man roster. What's this mean? Are they going to draft somebody next week in the Rule 5 draft? Maybe. Was that the reason they did so, or is there some other plans with regard to what they're doing? Bido, 26 games in 2025, 10 starts, 79 2/3 innings pitched, 60 ERA, 5.97 ERA, 68 Ks. If there's one guy I was wrong about going into the 2025 season, now I've been wrong about a lot, and Bido's at the top of the list. The reason I was so positive going into 2025, and hey, listen, one of the few people that picked the A's to win the AL West was guys like Osvaldo Bido. If you remember, going into 2025, our starting rotation looked like Severino is the 1, Jeffrey Springs is the 2, which I loved. 3 was JP Sears, a huge second half to 2024. 4 was Bido. I had him locked in as the 4 starter. And the fifth starter was between Joey Estes, Mitch Spence. It turned out just to be those two as far as incompetent. And JT Ginn, I believe, was the other one competing for the fifth spot. And it went to Joey Estes. Osvaldo Bido, and here's part of the reason I was so high on the A's going into 25, excuse me. They had one of the best records in the months of July and August in 2024. Brett Rooker on fire. Lawrence Butler, one of the best hitters over that 2-month stretch. And Osvaldo Bido had an ERA of 1.55 in 29 innings, 3-1, 14 hits, 5 earned runs. That was his month of August. He had outings against the Dodgers, 6 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, 6 Ks. In Toronto, 6 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 5 Ks. Against the Giants, 6 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 6 Ks. Against the Rays, 5 innings, 2 hits, 1 run. In Cincinnati, 6 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, 5 Ks. I was like, we are set. Osvaldo Bido was the big reason I was so high on the A's in 2025. And he just didn't have it. I feel, I feel Bido needs a change of scenery. I don't know. Remember, he was with Pittsburgh before the A's also, Master, and he got hit. I thought he turned the corner. And he didn't. He just didn't. He just wasn't that good. And I thought he turned the corner in 2024. In 25, he got hit. Even in the first half of the season, when he was consistently a starter, he was getting hit hard. Had hard contact right at guys. Pitched the 3rd game of the opening series in Seattle. Went 5 innings. Got the win, I believe, in that one. But he got hit hard. What's up, Rick? If the Braves want Estes back, they can have him too. Yeah. There's another one. The A's also mentioned that they were not shopping Severino for a salary dump. They want something in return, which tells me a couple things. Starting pitching's expensive, and we're seeing that with Dylan Cease. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, who would I rather have, Dylan Cease or Luis Severino? I tell you this much, I'd rather have Luis Severino 2 years, $44 million, or $45 million, whatever it exactly is, than Dylan Cease 7 years, $210 million. I will tell you that. And I probably would rather have Severino if it was contract for contract over a 2-year period of time. I don't know. I'm not a big Dylan Cease guy. Devin Williams getting signed for what he got signed for? I know I've talked about that before. I just can't get over it, man. They're going after swing rate, whiff rate, this, that. I want pitchers who can get guys out. I want Tyler Mahle from the Rangers. And I'll pay a premium for him if that's what it's going to cost. Because right now it seems like everything out there is expensive. Semboy, my man. A lot of factors in, for example, season-ending injuries, players' age, locker room, chemistry. The question was, what's the right player? The right players is also a coin flip. Perfect case study, the Angels. The Angels is a perfect example, man. The Angels have spent money. They've spent a lot of it. They had Ohtani. They had Trout in their prime. They haven't made the playoffs. Forget about making the playoffs. They haven't been a 500 team in over 10 years. It is a coin flip. It's an absolute coin flip on who you get. And last one by Revolution Truth, responding to the episode I had yesterday about Dallas Braden. Now Sacktown in Las Vegas has Nick Kurtz, Jacob Wilson, Tyler Soderstrom, Shea Langoliers, Lawrence Butler, Brett Rooker, Leo DeVries if he plays great in spring training. If Lopez, Arnold, Perkins, barring injury, the A's will rock Sacktown and Oakland in the East, and the South Bay fans, you blew it. You fell in love with Moneyball, and that was your undoing. 2014, A's had 7 All-Stars. Vegas, with all the money, will have baseball's next dynasty. Blaming Braden when the A's have won World Series parade on the Strip, you can only have yourself to blame. Yeah. Well said. I couldn't agree more. You know what's interesting? I obviously have had this back and forth with the A's fans. They dislike me. And it's not the A's fans, it's the mob of A's haters that we see. I wouldn't even call them fans. And here's ironic. Ever since I started doing the show, the very first show I did was on Moneyball. I don't believe in Moneyball. Anything that takes attention off the players on the field, I disagree with. The A's have drafted well. They have drafted extremely well, and Major League Baseball's rules towards losing stars in free agency, like a Giambi, like a Barry Zito, gets you draft picks, first-round draft picks. So they've had a lot of attempts to get some great players. And sure, have they signed role players that make a difference, such as Chad Bradford? Sure. But what team doesn't? The guy that won the World Series for the Dodgers was a role player. Kiki Hernandez, role player. Those players, if they're in Oakland, are considered Moneyball players. With LA, they're considered role players. Ownership now has the excuse not to spend, and I was blasted by it. I mean, this A's, not even fans, mob, crazy. And while I understand it is social media, I respect that, and you take it with a grain of salt. Yeah, it's a little ridiculous. Thank you for making Locked On A's your first listen every day. For your second listen, find the Locked On MLB podcast, where there is no offseason. Sully keeps you up to date on contract negotiations, rumors, and everything you need to be the most informed MLB fan. Find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.